Erev Tov, everyone, and welcome to the House of Seven Beggars. And I apologize. We had a bit of a glitch, and we had to reset the broadcast up all over again. And hopefully, everybody is going to make it over. I think I'm on the right page. I think. Not really sure at this point. Let's find out. Where the heck are we supposed to be? Okay, well, it figures we're gonna switch gears, so of course things are gonna go a little wonky on us. And as we wait for it to load up. And okay, we're getting there, folks. Just hang with me. There we go. Okay. Okay, glad to see you made it over. Okay, now even I'm on the right page now. Okay, so we have been studying the Talmud over the last year, just about. It's pretty close to a year if we're not actually over the year. We were on page 400 and let's see, what are we? 472 at our last session, which is 472 out of almost 10,000 pages. And after thinking about this, and I should say hello to everyone, especially those of you who found your way over and made the effort to find your way over. Benjamin, John, and Dave. We know we got a few of our regulars who are not going to be with us this evening because, life goes on. People have plans, and they'll catch the rebroadcast. Anyway, we decided we were going to kind of re-examine what we were doing. We've been reading the Talmud, and we've been reading the discussions and about this and about that and about the Baraitas and stuff like that, and we really haven't gotten down to the halakha, the actual law of it. There's been a few cases in the almost 500 pages that we read where we've heard the statement, the halakha follows this rabbi, or the halakha follows this house of study, and so on and so forth. And I got to thinking about this and saying, boy, this has really got to be, it's got to be confusing for most people. And let's admit it, probably a little bit boring too. So I got to thinking about it and said, okay, how do we put this into practical terms? How do we take what we're trying to learn here and put it into something that we can connect it with? And then I came to the realization that we didn't need to do that. It's already been done for us. That's why we have the Shulchan Aruch, which is the code of Jewish law. And I said, why don't we take this? Why don't we do this? let's reverse engineer this. Let's start with the Shulchan Aruch, which actually states, what is the halakha in this matter? And once we've gone through the Shulchan Aruch, then we will return to the Talmud, and at that point, we'll be able to read the discussions surrounding those laws, because we will know what the law actually is, what the halakha actually is, and then we can listen to the discussion going around it and have a better idea, how did they come to this decision? That the way that we do it now is the way that it's supposed to be done. So I just thought that this was a much better way, and probably a lot more interesting. Shlomo, good to see you. I'm glad you found your way over. Suppose I posted the link, did not work properly. Glad I found it. Yes, we had a little bit of a glitch, and we had to restart. We had to reset the entire broadcast. And considering that I did it in about 6 minutes, I'm fairly impressed with myself. Okay, as you should also be. And I want to thank everybody for having the fortitude to search us out and find us. I'm very grateful for that. Again, we are going to be studying the Code of Jewish Law, and we're going to be using this one, my copy, which is, I have had it for many years, and it's been around for many more years than before I got it. This is the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, which means it's a compilation of the laws. It is the one that was written by Rabbi Solomon Gansfried and translated by Chaim Golden. This one was actually published in 1961. So it has been around for a while. I refer to it quite often, considering it's in as good. I'm surprised it's in as good a shape as it is, but obviously that is a testament to the way that they made books back in the 1960s, because I do go into this quite a bit, and it is held up remarkably well. Okay, so we're going to start where else? At the beginning on page 1. There is actually 4 volumes in this one. And I thought this would get more discussion going on in the chat room. And Daniel, glad to see you made it over. You found us. Even though we were running around like our chickens with our heads cut off, we did finally get started. Okay, so this first volume has to do with the morning, actually, and the whole ritual of the day, the times of prayer. What do we do when we first wake up, and so on and so forth. So we're going to start out volume 1, chapter 1, and I'm hoping to be able to find a PDF of this one so that you can follow along with it. And Ben says he has the same one printed in 61. Good. It's a fantastic one. I love this one. I've actually got a couple of them. This is the one I always go to. Okay, so chapter 1, number 1. And it starts out with the rules of conduct upon rising in the morning. And it starts out, I have set the Lord always before me. From the Tehillim 16. The aforesaid is a cardinal principle in the Torah and a fundamental rule of life among the pious. For the attitude and conversation of a man when he is in the presence of a king are not the same as when he is in his own among his family and his intimates. In the presence of royalty, a man takes special care that his speech and his demeanor are refined and correct. How much more so should a man be careful of his deeds and words, realizing that the great King, the Holy One, Baruch Hu Baruch Shmo, whose glory fills the whole universe, is always standing by him and observing all he is doing. As it is said in the scriptures, can a man hide himself in secret places that I cannot see him? Says the Lord. Do I not fill the heaven and the earth? And that is from Yirmiyahu chapter 23, verse 24. Bearing this in mind, he will acquire a feeling of reverence and humility and will be ashamed and afraid to do anything wrong. Now, Shlomo and I just did a broadcast on Sunday where we were talking about Lashon Hara. And one of the things that we were discussing is, how do you keep yourself from Lashon Hara? And we talked about seeing the good in everyone, finding that spark, that one small spark in them, and magnifying it, and some other methods of trying to avoid Lashon Hara. But I can't think of anything better than avoiding Lashon Hara than what it says right here. Keeping in mind that we are in the presence of the King of the universe, and he is standing right with us throughout the entire day. That should keep your tongue in a civil place. Okay, I'm going to catch up with the chat room here. Okay, so if you have a comment or something like that, please put it in the chat room. I'll be checking the chat room to kind of keep up on it. That's why you'll see me looking here and with my head back, because I have to get my bifocals in the right place so I can actually read what's on the screen. It's really something when you start getting older and the eyes start going, and the body doesn't do what you think it's going to do at the times you think it's going to do it. Anyway, getting back to what happens in the morning. The second point that they bring up is a man should be conscious of the presence of God even while still laying in bed. And as soon as he awakes, he should acknowledge the loving kindness of the Lord. Blessed be he. He, inasmuch as the soul which was committed to God, faint and weary, was restored to him, renewed and refreshed, thus enabling him to serve God devotedly all day. For this is the goal of every man, as it is said, they are new every morning. Great is thy faithfulness. And that's from Lamentations. Which means every morning a man, now this is important, every morning a man is like a newborn living being. And for this he must thank God with all his heart. While still in his bed, he should say, I thank thee, O living and eternal King, who hast mercifully restored my soul within me. Thy faithfulness is great. One may say this prayer although one's hands are yet unwashed, since the name of God is not mentioned in it. So, we're actually saying a prayer, but since God's name is not mentioned in it, we don't have to wash our hands first. So, when saying the prayer, one must pause briefly between the word graciously and great. Number 3. Judah, the son of Temah, said, bold as a leopard, light as an eagle, swift as a deer, and strong as a lion, to do the will of thy Father who is in heaven. And that's from Pirkei Avot, chapter 5. Bold as a leopard means that man should not be ashamed to worship God, blessed be He, in the presence of people who laugh at him. Light as an eagle refers to our sense of vision. That is, we must be swift to close our eyes so as not to look at evil, because sight is the initial act of sin. The eyes sees, the heart covets, and the limbs, the instruments, execute it. Swift as a deer refers to the legs. That is, our feet should always run swiftly to perform good deeds. As we say, we should run to the synagogue and hesitate and walk away. Strong as a lion refers to the heart, because the zeal to worship the Creator, blessed be He, is in the heart. It is our duty to do our utmost to worship Him and to prevail over the Yetzer Hara, the evil impulse, the evil inclination, just as the hero makes every effort to prevail over his enemy until he subdues him. Number 4. It is therefore every man's duty to make himself strong as a lion, which sometimes takes some doing, as we all know, as all of us old men all know. And Daniel, you're going to get there one of these days. Sometimes it's hard to make yourself strong like a lion. Immediately upon waking from sleep, especially at that point, he must rise quickly and be ready to worship our Creator, blessed be He, before the evil impulse is given an opportunity to dissuade him from rising. Now, I want you to listen to this, because you're going to recognize this. You're going to recognize exactly what it's saying in here. In the wintertime, for instance, the evil impulse uses this subtle argument. Now, it's not the evil impulse that causes us to sin. Okay? The old argument that we hear from other religions that say, oh, the devil made me do it. The devil doesn't make you do anything. The evil impulse is that little voice in the ear, that little whisper in the ear that says things like, how can you rise up so early in the morning when it's so cold? How many times have we said that to ourselves? In the summertime, he uses this crafty argument. How can you rise now when you have not had enough sleep? Or he is using other similar arguments. For the evil impulse possesses the art of ensnaring a man in his trap and dissuade him from rising. Therefore, every man who fears the word of God must overcome the evil impulse and disobey him. Even when it is hard for us to rise because of fatigue or because of habitual indolence, we must make it as our aim to fulfill the will of the Supreme King of Kings, the Holy One, blessed be He. A man must have in mind the following. If someone would call him to attend to a profitable business transaction, to collect a debt, or to save his property from being destroyed by a fire or any other cause, he would surely not be slothful, but would rise quickly. Or if he should be summoned to perform the king's service, then he would certainly not be dilatory, but would rise speedily, either because of fear of punishment or because he would be anxious to find favor in the king's sight. Now, we know there are both ways. We know people who do this because they are fearful of punishment, but the right attitude to have is to be anxious to find favor in the king's sight. How much more so must one rise swiftly when one is called upon to perform the service of the Supreme King of Kings, the Holy One, blessed be He. Now, here's a little bit of advice. He who accustoms himself to rise early 4 or 5 times will experience no difficulty after that. As the sages say, and this is from the Talmud, this is from Tractate Yoma, folio 38b. That's what I was saying. Now we're going to get a little better understanding of these things, so when we get to Tractate Yoma, we're going to go, oh, I remember that. Okay, so as the sages say, he who makes an effort to do good is assisted by heaven. Okay, now, I recently posted a challenge on the Shul group, saying that 28 days. Now, I've heard that psychologists say that if you do something for 28 days straight, it becomes a habit. And once you have the habit, you will do it. And if you don't do it, something feels like it's missing. So I challenged everybody to lay tefillin, except on those days when we're not supposed to, for 28 straight days to make it a habit. Because once it becomes a habit, you'll always do it. And if something keeps you from doing it, the day is not going to seem the same. It's just like this. Now they say 3, 4, or 5 times. If you did it 28 days in a row, it would become habit. You would always do it. Okay, let's catch up on here. Okay, and Shlomo has put in there the Modeh Ani prayer, which is said first thing in the morning. Thank you, Shlomo. Okay, moving on to part 5 of chapter 1. If one is able to rise at midnight to perform the midnight service. Did you even know there was a midnight service? There is nothing more meritorious than this. As it is said from Lamentations, "Arise, cry out in the night, at the beginning of the watches," just as the Holy One, blessed be He, laments at the moment, as it is written in Yirmiyahu, "The Lord will roar from on high, and from His holy habitation utter his voice. He will roar mightily because of his fold. And our sages tell us from Berachot, from Tractate Berachot, folio 3a, that the Almighty One says, "Woe to my children, on account of whose iniquity I destroyed my house, burnt my temple, and exiled them among the nations." Okay, so it talks about this midnight service. And the midnight service, known as the Chatzot half, or a shortened for half the night. When in the silence of midnight, the pious Jew would sit on a low stool after the fashion of one who is observing the rites of the morning, and read Tikkun Chatzot, special prayers arrangement for Chatzot, shedding tears for the destruction of the temple at Jerusalem, the dispersion of Israel among the nations, and the Galut, exile, so to speak, of the divine presence. Okay, so that is what that midnight service is that they're speaking of here. And where was I? Oh, okay, I was over here. But one who is unable to rise at midnight, let one at least make an effort to rise before dawn. Before dawn. As King David said in Tehillim 57, "I will awake the dawn," which means I will awake the dawn, but the dawn does not awake me. I'm actually up before the dawn. I'm going to wake the dawn up. One may perform the midnight rite even past midnight, and then engage in the study of Torah according to one's knowledge. Okay? To that level of understanding of the Torah that they have. The study of the Mishnah is preferable to any other thing. But if one is not a scholar, one may read Tehillim, Ma'amadot, or some book of ethics, like Pirkei Avot, the ethics of the fathers. Okay. And again, here's another great statement. A little with devotion is better than much without devotion. Rabbi Chaya taught in Talmud, folio 32b, the divine presence is in the presence of him who studies the Torah at night. Hence why our Torah studies have always been in the evening. Because the Kabbalah says that study at night mitigates harsh judgments against us. As it says in Lamentations, "Arise, cry out in the night at the beginning of the days. Pour out thy heart like water before the presence of the Lord," which signifies that the divine presence is then before us. Our rabbis of blessed memory said again, "He who engages in the study of Torah at night is called a servant of the Lord." As it is said in Tehillim 134, "All ye servants of the Lord, who stand by night in the house of the Lord, when the nights are short and it is impossible to rise so early, he should at least try to rise early enough to have sufficient time to prepare himself to go to the synagogue to pray together with the congregation. Okay, catch up on the chat here. Just wondering if they were included. Okay, to my understanding, whoop, just flipped out. Oh, okay. Dave says, "Oh, Dave, good to see you. To my understanding, women are not mandated by Torah, but can take on an extra mitzvah. One midrash I heard sort that the men need the reminder." yeah, definitely we need a reminder. In short, actually, there are a lot of mitzvot, and we were having this discussion on the Shul page that during the challenge that the women were asking about this, and we know that there are mitzvot that a woman can take on herself. She can make a pledge to do that. Okay? She is free to take on those mitzvot, but she must make a public statement. And we talked all about the importance of public statements. She must make a public statement, and she must put a time frame on it. I will do this for a month. I will do this for a year. I will do it for 5 years, whatever. But remember, once the mantle of mitzvah is taken up, it cannot be put down. So if you take that upon yourself and say, I am going to put on tefillin, if I am a woman and I say I'm going to put on tefillin every day for 28 days, you miss a day, you're at day 27, and you miss day 27, you have to start all over again. So be careful. And it always amazes me why women want to do the mitzvot of a man, that are obligated on a man but are not obligated on a woman. Because we know that women are at a higher spiritual plane than a man is already. Why would she actually want to lower herself to the spiritual level of a man to say, okay, I want to do this mitzvah? I mean, I just find it, hard to understand why a woman would do that, unless, we know there are people out there who want to do it for, they want to make a political statement, or they feel that, that Judaism patriarchal and I'll show them and whatever like that. It's not it at all. It's that way because women are at a higher spiritual level than a man. Therefore, they have this constant connection with God that a man has to work for. Okay, so number 6. Tehillim and other portions of the Pentateuch, prophets, or Hagiographia, which is books about sages, saintly people, great rabbis, stuff like that, which ordinarily people do not know by heart, must not be recited even by heart, even by one who is well versed in them. A blind man, however, may recite any portion of the Torah by heart. So this is another thing. You can actually recite these, even read from one of the books. Like I have a book, Souls on Fire, which is what I use, which talks about the great Hasidic masters and stuff. And there are many books out there. It doesn't have to be that one. There's some great books out there about some of the Tzaddikim and the great rabbis and the sages and stuff like that. Number 7. We must enjoin those who read Ma'amadot to omit, okay, we have to remind them, to omit God's name from the concluding benediction, and is to be read thus: Blessed be thou who hears our prayers. So we leave out that. Typically we would say, Blessed be thou, O Lord. Okay? But we're going to drop that out of there. Okay. Chapter 2. Switch my legs here. Okay. There, I'm more comfortable now. Okay, let's see if we got anything in the... Okay, so there's a discussion going on. A little side discussion going on, which is fine. Okay, so we're on chapter 2 now. Hand washing in the morning. I remember a few years ago, Benjamin and I had a great discussion on this. Okay, so number 1. Since every man upon arising from his sleep in the morning is like a newborn creature, as we just talked about, insofar as the worship of the Creator is concerned, he should prepare himself for worship by washing his hands out of a vessel, just as the priest used to wash their hands daily out of a wash basin before performing their service in the temple. Now you know. This hand washing is based on the biblical verse from Tehillim 26, I will wash my hands in innocency, and I will compass thy altar, O Lord, that I may publish with a loud voice, and so on and so forth. There is another reason given in the Kabbalist by the Kabbalist. The Zohar quoted in Beit Yosef. For this morning hand washing, when a man is asleep, the holy soul departs from his body, and an unclean spirit descends upon him. When rising from sleep, the unclean spirit departs from his entire body, except from his fingers, and does not depart until one spills water upon them 3 times alternately. One is not allowed to walk 4 cubits, which is, a cubit is about 18 inches, so that's 6 feet, without having one's hands washed, except in case of extreme necessity. And this is where we got into the discussion. We were talking about, okay, what constitutes extreme necessity? Okay, if you wake up in the middle of the night and have to use the facilities, do you have to get up and wash your hands and stuff before you use the facilities? Well, obviously people don't wake up in the middle of the night unless they really have to go, right? So I would consider that a case of extreme necessity. Okay, because nobody wants to trail from the bedroom into the washroom. Number 2, the first garment which a male must put on is the talit katan, the arba kamfot, the small 4-fringe garment commonly known as the arba kanfot, 4-cornered. For one is not allowed to walk even as much as 4 cubits, 6 feet, without having a fringed garment on. But as his hands are still unwashed, he may not say the benediction, putting it on. So he puts it on, but he doesn't say the bracha because he hasn't washed his hands yet. The ritual hand washing is performed as follows. Take a cup of water with the right hand and put it or pour it on the left. Pour some water upon the right hand. Take the cup back in the right hand and pour some water on the left. This performance is repeated 3 times, back and forth. Right, left, right, left, right, left. It is best to pour water over the hands as far as the wrists, but in the case of emergency, it suffices if the water covers the hands up to the joints of the fingers. One must also wash his face in honor of the Creator, as it is said in Bereshit chapter 9, for in the image of God hath he made the man. One must also rinse the mouth, because we must pronounce the great name in purity and cleanliness. Afterwards, the hands are dried. Special care must be taken to dry the face thoroughly. Okay? Let's see what we got in the chat room here. And here says, most Orthodox have a bowl and jug next to the bed and a towel. Yes, yes they do. Okay, number 4. The hands must be washed into a vessel only. The water thus used must not be utilized for any other purpose, because what are we rinsing off? We're rinsing off the evil from our hands, right? Because the evil spirit rests on it, contaminated and injurious to health, and must not be spilt in a place frequented by human beings. Before the morning hand washing, one should not touch either the mouth, the nose, the eyes, the ears, the lower orifice, or any kind of food or an open vein, because the evil spirit that rests upon the hands before washing them will cause to these things. And that's not to mention, and of course, there's always great wisdom in this stuff. Again, you're waking up, you have bacteria on your hands and stuff from the night, and if you touch an open wound, there is the possibility you could infect it, and so on and so forth. So there's not only is there holy reasons for this, there's very practical reasons for it too. These are the effects that we can experience. Some of the mitzvot that we have, we don't understand why they are, but we do them anyway. We can experience the effects of them, but we don't really know exactly why they're supposed to be. Okay, moving on. Miriam found us. She found us. I'm impressed. Okay, an open vein, that would be a cut. Okay. Number 6. It is best to perform the morning ablution, which is cleaning, with water poured from a vessel by human effort, just as it must be done when washing the hands before meals. But in the case of an emergency, and one wishes to pray, one may wash his hands in any manner, even when the water is not poured by human effort, and one may pronounce the benediction al natilat yadayim concerning the washing of the hands. If there is a river or snow on hand, one should dip the hands in it 3 times. If, however, there is no water in any form available, one may wipe one's hands with some material and say the blessing, blessed are, so on and so forth, for cleaning, not washing, cleaning the hands. Afterward, finding water and the required vessel, one must wash the hands properly without pronouncing any benediction, because they've already pronounced the benediction. Okay, number 7. As it is written in Tehillim 103, bless the Lord, O my soul, and all that is within me, bless his holy name. Since it is a man's duty to bless the holy name with all that is in him, he is not allowed to begin worshiping God before he has cleaned himself of bodily sins. As one ordinarily has to respond to the call of nature in the morning, therefore one shall not pronounce the benediction over washing the hands in the morning until one has eased oneself, wash the hands again, pronounce the necessary benedictions, and afterward proceed with the rest of the benedictions as given in the Siddur. If a person rises from his sleep while it is still night and washes his hands as is required, and then stays awake until the dawn, or if he falls asleep again while it is yet night, or if he sleeps 60 breaths, or about 1/2 hour, in the daytime, or, taking a nap, okay, or if he is awake the whole night, in all these cases, it is doubtful whether or not hand washing is necessary. Okay, so even in the Shulchan Aruch, we have some uncertainty. You have said, no, we're not really sure. Okay, should we or shouldn't we? He shall therefore wash his hands alternately 3 times, as prescribed in paragraph 3, section 3 that we read, but without pronouncing the benediction. So in other words, we're not sure whether we should or not, but we're going to do it anyway. And just to be on the safe side, we just won't say the benediction. Hands must be washed on the following occasions: on awakening from sleep, on leaving the lavatory or bath, after paring one's nails, after having one's hair cut, after taking off the shoes with bare hands, after having sexual intercourse, after touching a vermin, or searching the clothes for vermin. Remember, we had that whole discussion in the Talmud at our last Sun about the light, about the oil lamp, about searching the clothes for vermin on the Sabbath, not to do it on the Sabbath because one might be inclined to, if the lamp flickers, to lift it to get more oil up to the wick. After combing one's head, after touching parts of the body which are generally covered, after leaving a cemetery, after walking in a funeral procession, or leaving a house where a corpse lay, and after bloodletting. Okay? We don't see a lot of bloodletting anymore, but just in case you do, now you know that, okay, I have to wash my hands. I don't know where that's still practiced, but this was written in the 1960s, and obviously somebody was still doing it. So, okay. Chapter 3. On dressing and deportment. That's a nice way to put it, isn't it? As it is written in Micah, chapter 6. And to walk humbly with thy God. Therefore, it is the duty of every man to be modest in all his ways. When putting on or removing his shirt or any other undergarment, he should be careful not to expose his body unduly. He should put it on and remove it while still lying covered in bed. He should never say to himself, Lo, I am all alone in my inner chamber, and in the dark, who can see me? For the glory of the Holy One, blessed be He, fills the universe, and darkness and light are alike to Him, blessed be He, His name, and modesty and a sense of shame indicate humility before Him, blessed be His name. Baruch Shemo. It is forbidden to follow the customs of idolaters or to be like them either in the way they dress, cut their hair, or the like, as it is said in Leviticus, and ye shall not walk in the customs of the nation, and as it says again in Leviticus 18, neither shall ye walk in their statutes, and again in Deuteronomy 12, take heed to thyself that thou be not ensnared to follow them. We must not wear the kind of garment worn by them for ostentation, a garment worn by princes, and that brings up a good point. Now we see a lot of Hasidim. They wear the black halbe hosen, which are the breeches with the long white socks or the long black socks, but the pants come down just below the knee, and they wear the a white shirt and the bekasha, and so on, and the strimel or the spodik or the hat, and there's, I don't know where this actually got started. I've heard it many times said that, well, the reason that the Jews did this was that they were imitating the dress of the Polish nobility because they didn't want to be seen as being lower, and that's actually not true. The dress of the Hasidim actually predates the dress of the Polish nobility by actually a few hundred years, as a matter of fact. So, actually, we were setting the trend. And then the nobility picked up on the trend from us. So just in case you were wondering about that. Because I've heard it so many times, and I know it's not true, and I try to correct people when I hear them say that, and say, no, that's not actually true. We were actually doing it for a few hundred years before that. Okay. Getting back to the Shulchan Aruch. In the Talmud, again, Sanhedrin 74, folio 74a, it is stated that a Jew is not allowed to resemble the idolaters even in regard to shoelaces. If they tie them one way, the Israelite in another way. Or if it is their custom to have red shoelaces the Israelite have black ones? Because, and I'll tell you in just a second, because the color of black is indicative of humility and modesty. An Israelite is not allowed to change either the knot or the color in order to imitate them. From this Talmudic injunction, every man can learn how to act depending upon the place and time. An Israelite must not wear a cloak revealing pride and immodesty, the kind worn by the heathens. The garments of the Israelite must be such as betoken humility and modesty. It is thus told in the Sifri, Deuteronomy, chapter 12, "You shall not say, because they walk about dressed in purple, I too will walk about dressed in purple. Because they walk about helmeted, I too will walk about helmeted. For these are the ways of the proud and the haughty, but not the lot of Yaakov, Israel. Their mode of life is to be modest and humble, and not look up to be proud. An Israelite should not imitate any of their customs, even if there is but a slight suspicion of idolatrous intent connected to it. A Jew must not cut his hair or let it grow as they do, but he should differ from them in dress, manner, of speech, and other deeds, just as he differs from them in knowledge and opinions. And thus does Scripture say in Leviticus chapter 20, I have set you apart from the peoples. Okay, we are halfway through our session. Late as we were getting started, we are still about halfway through our session now. We are going to take a quick break here, a quick 6-minute break. And if you're going to have a little nosh, don't forget to wash your hands, as we just learned. Okay, so let me get lined up here. You can see we got things set up a little bit different than we have in the past. I just thought it'd be, actually it's more comfortable. So let us take a small break. We will be back in 6 minutes, and we'll see you back then.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Delicious things to eat.
The popcorn can't be beat. The sparkling drinks are just dandy. The chocolate bars and the candy. So let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
It's intermission time, folks, so hurry, hurry, hurry. Step right over to our refreshment center for the most extravagant array of refreshment goodies ever assembled under one roof. Enjoy breathtaking, mouth-watering goodies, everything from a snack to a delicious full meal. At our refreshment center, you'll find a large variety of goodies to satisfy your hunger, your thirst, or your sweet tooth. So hurry, hurry, hurry. Visit our refreshment center now. The show starts in 5 minutes. show starts in 4 minutes. The show starts in 3 minutes. The show starts in 2 minutes. The show starts in 1 minute. And now, on with the show.
And we are back. And I want to thank everybody for sticking around. Christopher Robbins, good to see that you found us. And I see there was a discussion going on in there. Number one, for those of you who are just finding us, we are reading from the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, the one that the Code of Jewish Law. I am reading from the Rabbi Solomon Gansfried edition, the 1961 version. So, and again, like I said, I'm trying to see if I can find a PDF of it so that you can actually follow along with it. Somebody was, let's see. Miriam. Miriam says, I have seen Hasidim wear their kippah under their hats. Like that, right? Okay. Yes. Very common. I always have my kippah under my hat. Okay. There was a question about like baseball caps and stuff like that. I actually have I'm a fan of the Detroit Tigers. I love baseball. So I have a Detroit Tigers cap, but Tigers is written in Hebrew. So it's a baseball cap, but it's different. Okay, so, and that's what we talk about, the subtleties in the law. They're not the same. Okay, so, and we were talking about a couple of things earlier. We were talking about the washing of the hands when getting up, and I think Benjamin actually brought it up. I think it was Benjamin or it was David, I'm not sure which. Who had brought up that many Hasidim or many Orthodox will keep a wash basin and a pitcher next to the bed. Well, yes, they do. Like this. Okay? Basin and a pitcher. And we talked about the Arba Kanfot, the false small four-cornered garment, which is this that we put on first thing in the morning. Okay. So, and if anybody's interested, I can tell you a story about this, and how a certain kind of rumor about Jews got started because of washing these things and having them hanging out on the line to dry. And if you really want to know about it, you can contact me and I will fill you in on it. But it's not really proper conversation to have in a study session or among mixed company. So I'm going to fold up my Arba Kanfot here. Set it over here with my wash basin, and we will continue on. Okay, so we were on chapter or paragraph 3 of chapter 3. Yeah, paragraph 3 of chapter 3. Okay. We should avoid wearing costly garments. This is conducive to pride. Nor should we wear clothes that are too cheap or soiled in order that we may not be ridiculed by people. But we should wear moderately priced and clean clothing. The Talmudic sages say, in Tractate Shabbat, folio 129a, a man should even sell the beams of his house in order to secure shoes for himself. And it goes on when it talks about things like a man needs a coat. If his means aren't sufficient, he buys his wife a coat first. If his means are sufficient, then he buys his wife and himself a coat, but he always buys his wife a coat of superior quality to his own. Okay. So much for the whole feminist idea that women are put down and kept down in Judaism. It's just not true. Okay, paragraph 4. Since the scriptures have given importance to the right hand, choosing it to perform certain divine commands, such as the sacrifices, when the priests dipped his finger in the blood and sprinkled it 7 times on the altar, on the thumb of the right hand and on the great toe of the right foot of Aharon and his sons during the consecration of the temple, or the Mishkan, and in the ceremony of Halitzah, from Deuteronomy. Therefore, when dressing ourselves, we must always give preference to the right hand or foot over the left. But when removing shoes and other articles of apparel, the left comes first. So when we're taking them off, when we put our shoes on, we put the right foot on, the right shoe on first, and then the left shoe, and then when we're taking them off, exactly the opposite order. We take the left one off first, and then we take the right one off. Okay, with regard to fastening a lace, the left should be given precedence, because the tefillin are fastened on the left hand. Any knot, therefore, should be made on the left side first. When our shoes have laces, we first put the shoe on the right foot without lacing it, and we put the one on the left and lace it, and afterwards we lace the one on the right. This method of dressing also applies to all other articles of clothing. So, I mean, really, seriously, the Gerim should really read this thing first. I should make it mandatory reading before they actually make the decision to become Ger, so that they understand what they're actually getting into. I don't think that would dissuade many of them, but it would be interesting. It's an interesting idea. Okay, paragraph 5. 2 garments should not be put on at the same time, because it is harmful to the memory. Okay, I'm not really sure about that one, but I'm going to have to take their word for it on this one. It's harmful to the memory. Interesting. A male person must not walk even as much as, again, 4 cubits, or 6 feet, or utter a single holy word while being bareheaded, without having kippah or a hat on. Minor children, too, must be trained to cover their heads so that they may be imbued with the fear of God, as it relates in the Talmud of Rab Nachman bar Yitzhak in Tractate Shabbat, folio 156b. The astrologer said to the mother of Rab Nachman ben bar Yitzhak, your son is destined to be a thief. He would not let his mother cover his head. So she said to him, cover your head, so that the fear of God may be upon you. And that's interesting, because we get into this whole discussion about the kippah, about the where did this come from? It's nowhere in the Torah. And the best we can come up with, the best estimation of how we started the custom of keeping our head covered, was during the Babylonian exile. That in Babylon, when you were in a house of study, or you were in the presence of a scholar, you kept your head covered out of respect, as opposed to what we think of today, where if we we want to show respect to somebody, it would normally be to take the hat off. In those days, the custom was that you kept your head covered in their presence. And they said, okay, and again, as we have read in the Shulchan Aruch, what greater scholar are we in the presence of constantly than Hashem himself? Therefore, we keep our head covered all the time. Paragraph 7. It is forbidden to walk haughtily, erect, with neck fully outstretched concerning this, as is said in Isaiah chapter 3, and they walk with outstretched necks. Nevertheless, a man should not walk with his head bent too low, so that he may see approaching people, and also to watch his step. See, as the whole thing with it's all a balance. It's like the Torah being given on Har Sinai. It was not the highest mountain, neither was it in a valley. It was in the middle. Okay, so, walking humbly, the head constantly bowed way down, is actually forbidden. We should walk humbly, not arrogantly, but humbly, but not, because doing the opposite is just as bad. It's being just as haughty. It's being, I am so humble that I'm keeping my head really low, which is just as bad as keeping your head with your neck stretched out and so on and so forth. From the manner a man walks, we can tell whether he is wise and intelligent, or a fool and a bore. Thus Solomon said wisely in Ecclesiastes, yea, also when a fool walketh by the way, his understanding fails him, and he saith to everyone that he is a fool. Paragraph 8. A man should be careful not to pass between two women, two dogs, or two swine. Nor should two men permit a woman, a dog, or a swine to pass between them. Okay, we are on to chapter 4. Rules of decency. Okay, we'll check up on the chat room here real quick. Oh, Ben, thank you very much. Ben has put a PDF of the on the Seven Beggars Facebook page. He says this is it's close to this translation. Great. And what we will do is next week we will actually put that link in the down below the video, so that it'll be there just like we did with the Talmud, so that as people are coming into the class, they can actually download it and follow along with us. Okay. Thank you, Ben. Thank you very much for that. Okay. Chapter 4, Rules of Decency. A person, this will be paragraph 1. A person should accustom himself to respond to the call of nature once in the evening and once in the morning. Such a habit is conducive to alertness and cleanness. If he is unable to ease himself, he should walk a distance of 4 cubits, 6 feet, repeat it several times if need be, or he should divert his attention from other matters. Don't be thinking about something else when you should be concentrating on this. Now, and we had this. There was a discussion when we were reading in the Talmud about this whole thing about okay, well, I have to go and use the lavatory. I'm in the middle of prayers. I don't want to, but I have to. So now I have to take off the tefillin. I have to take off the talit, and then I have to go into the lavatory and take care of my business, and then wash, and then come out, and then ritually wash, and then put the thing, everything back on and everything. By then, I mean, we've missed a lot of the prayers and we have to catch up. And Rabbi Nachman, interesting enough, Rabbi Nachman talks about this in the I can't remember if it's the Wisdom of Rabbi Nachman or if it's in the Likutei Moharan. I think it's in the Wisdom of Rabbi Nachman. Talks about this practice that the Hasidim had at this time of going to great lengths to make sure that they had taken care of their business before they went into prayer. And he was saying that it was not only was it unnecessary to do that it was actually harmful to them to be doing this. So all things, with due diligence, but not to fanaticism. Okay. He who defers easing himself is guilty of violating a biblical command. Did you know that? Leviticus, ye shall not make yourselves detestable. And he who defers urination is also guilty of violating the divine promise from Deuteronomy chapter 7. There shall not be a male or female among you. Okay. Switch my legs again. A man must exercise modestly, must exercise when in the lavatory. And again, we read this in the Talmud about the person who conducts himself modestly in the lavatory. He should not expose himself before he sits down, and should not expose his body more than is actually necessary. One should not ease oneself in the presence of other people, but one may urinate in the presence of other people even in the daytime, because there is a danger involved in restraint. Nevertheless, even in the latter case, one should at least turn aside. One should not ease oneself while standing, nor should one overstrain oneself, lest one rupture the glands of the rectum. Should one leave the lavatory too soon before one is certain that one is no longer in need of it. When one urinates while standing, one should take care not to splash any urine on one's shoes or clothes, and one should be extremely careful not to hold the membrane. Okay. While in the lavatory, it is forbidden to think of sacred matters. It is therefore best to concentrate there upon one's business affairs and accounts. So now you know what you should be doing when you are taking care of your business. You should be concentrating on your business. Okay. Or your accounts. That's a good place to worry about things, isn't it? That's the best place in the world to worry about things, because that's all that worry is, right? Okay. So that one may not be led to think either of holy matters or, God forbid, indulge in sinful thoughts. On the Sabbath, when it is forbidden to think of business, one should think of some interesting thing that one has either seen or heard, or something similar to that. One should be careful to wipe oneself thoroughly, for should even a trace of feces cling to the body, one is not permitted to utter a holy word. One should not clean oneself with the right hand, for with this hand one puts on tefillin. A left-handed person should cleanse himself with the right hand, which is like everyone else's left hand. And again, the left-handed person would actually wrap their tefillin on the right arm, because that is the weaker of the two, and that's what we wrap the tefillin on, is the weaker of the two arms. And if you thought Metzora and Tazria were not the most pleasant of the parshot to study, I mean, this isn't much better, but it's things that we should know, right? Okay. And Ben says, or read the Sears catalog. Okay. Okay, so after each defecation or urination, even of one drop, one must wash one's hands and say the benediction, Asher Yitzar. If one has forgotten to say the benediction, and after having responded to the call of nature, again, one became aware of one's neglect, one need not say the benediction more than once. If one takes laxatives and knows that one will have to ease oneself several times, one should say the benediction only after surmising that this will be the last call. Okay. Cleanliness, chapter 5. Cleanliness in places used for holy purpose. And I think that's probably a good place for us to stop here. We'll stop here on chapter 5. And we will pick this up again next week. We'll get that. We'll get the link to the PDF and get it posted up under the video. So next week, look under the video, and if you haven't gotten the PDF, we'll have it listed there so that you can link to it and download it so that you can follow along and get in on the conversation. So before we do, let's catch up on the chat room. John says, "Excuse me, I have to balance the books." That's pretty good, John. That's pretty good. I'm impressed. Okay. I want to thank everyone for being with us, especially after the whole mishigash of the little glitch that we had, and we had to reset everything up so that we could get on with our broadcast this evening. We'll be back tomorrow evening at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If I can just keep myself from doing the foolish thing that I did earlier. We will be back with Zeta and myself to study the Torah Parsha. The Parsha this week is a double Parsha. Again, we have a double Parsha. Achrei in Kedoshim, or Achremot in Kedoshim, depending on how you want to pronounce it. And of course, Shabbat services as usual. Thanks everyone. Benjamin, Miriam, David, John, Yair, Daniel, and anyone else that I might have forgot. I want to thank you all for being here. And for now, we will say Laila Tov.